Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the T.H.O. Movie Reviews podcast, the show where we bring you passionate, honest, and insightful film criticism. I'm your host, Bennett Campbell Ferguson, and I'm here with Patrick Belin and Mo Shaunette. How you guys doing today?
I'm doing all right.
Pretty good. Pizza in my mouth, so I'm all good.
I've got vodka, so I'm gonna be okay for a little while.
Yo, I think this is our first vodka podcast.
But it won't be the last.
Yeah, I believe it well. So, if you've looked up at the title of this podcast, you know we're doing commentary on Star Wars The Force Awakens today, kind of in honor of the opening in Rogue One. We're looking back at the previous Star Wars film. And, if you already started playing the movie, the joke's on you, because we are going to count down to pressing play. So, we've got the remote now, and we're going to start, hit play in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go, Lucasfilm Limited.
Alright. Star Wars.
A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. And no 20th Century Fox logo.
Womp womp.
So, for those of you who aren't familiar with our discourse on this movie, we did review The Force Awakens last year. We had a pretty impassioned discussion, and it was most of us liked the film except me. I had a lot of negative things to say, and I stand by all of them. I don't take any of them back, although I, being the Star Wars nerd that I am, I have watched this movie many times since it came out, and I have to admit, in my zeal to nitpick the things that bothered me, I did overlook a lot of great things about this film, and I'll get into both the things I like and the things I don't like. And you guys haven't seen it since
I haven't seen it since
December though, of last year, right?
It came out. I don't know why. When we planned to do this, I was gonna go and watch it again, just to refresh myself, but work got very busy. As I was telling these guys, I work in a movie theater, which we get very busy during the holidays, and so I just didn't have the time or the energy to sit through another the whole thing again. So yeah, I'm going in fresh.
Are you saying you didn't want to watch it just to see Kylo Ren's hair? Because I
don't have to look very hard to find a greasy white boy with shitty hair. You know?
Fair point. If you're wondering what the noise is, I am chewing because we have, as Patrick mentioned, we have pizza right here. But
that's a little behind the scenes treat for you.
Yeah. We start the film with a Star Destroyer coming over the camera. That's how almost all the Star Wars films start, including Rogue One.
Yeah.
Have you seen it? It's
we're already in space. We might as well hang out there.
Yeah. Star Wars is repetition is a huge part of Star Wars, and
and at least in this movie, which is just it. I mean, this isn't a new insight. This is a New Hope again. Just
right.
With a fresh coat of paint.
Yeah, there's a strong argument to be made. In fact, I think that this film is, to a certain degree, actually a remake of A New Hope, just with new characters
and I get why they did that. I'm not upset about it, because after the prequels, you kind of gotta land back on your feet. You gotta go back to the well and show, yeah, we can do good Star Wars movies again.
Sure.
And sometimes that means just going back to basics,
It's kind of funny.
Oh, he's so dreamy.
We're talking about Oscar Isaac, by the way, and yes, he is dreamy, isn't he?
I may be talking about Max von Sydow. You don't know. The truth is, I'm talking about both.
Who's gonna say BB-8's dreamy?
Everyone, because he's adorable.
I want to give a shout out to the cinematographer Dan Mindell, who's done almost all of J.J. Abrams' films except Super 8. I think you see, right from the beginning in this scene, there's a real, ironically for a movie that wasn't shot in 3D, this is a very three-dimensional movie, and that's because of the texture and the shadow and the light. You know, it doesn't look flat, and you know, for better or worse, not a lot of lens flares either. You know,
Yeah.
I'm a rare lens flare fan, but I understand why he toned that down.
I would have to add that I did see this film in 3D in the theaters, and it worked really well.
Nice.
They probably purposely did the cinematography for 3D viewing.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah. Did 3D like make certain things stand out more? Did that change the experience? Do you think?
Yeah, actually it did. My first Star Wars film in 3D, and I thought they did it exceptionally well. I was actually surprised that I enjoyed it more than I did. Well, we live in that 3D age, you know, so I think a lot of cinematography is going in that direction now, including Star Wars, so it wasn't surprising.
I feel like the 3D boom has died down, because it was super big in 2010, because Avatar came out and made all the money, and then everyone's like, our movie's in 3D too, and it was all post-conversion, it looked like crap.
You know, that was really the funny thing is that has turned out to be Avatar's biggest legacy. You know, creating this idea that now you have to do, like every big movie, you have to convert it, unless you're Christopher Nolan, who enjoys rebelling, which I love.
At least it works like with like animated movies. Like there's a guy who I don't remember his real name, but like he legally changed his middle name to Captain 3D. So on his license plate it's like Phil Captain 3D Jones or whatever. And he's the guy who DreamWorks calls up whenever they want to post-convert their movies to 3D. And he's really good at it, and they look great. Like, have you seen How to Train Your Dragon?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, and that was like that's an interesting, like issue I find. Like, you know, some 3D conversions people really, you know, rage against, like Clash of the Titans, I remember was one people were angry about, but then, you know, Harry Potter, not so much. I know a lot of people were really happy with that.
Which movie was that? Was that the 7 Part 1 or 7 Part 2?
7 Part 2 was converted, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, here we have the arrival of Kylo Ren, played by Adam Driver. We've got a lens flare flashing, and another little bit of repetition. His spaceship looks a lot like the Imperial shuttles used by Darth Vader and the Emperor from the original trilogy.
No, he's a fanboy.
He is a fanboy, yeah.
I wonder if he's going to evolve from his fanboy phase and into a more menacing figure in the next episode.
I mean, he's
so.
not super scary
yeah.
at the end.
Yeah.
You know, someone pointed this out. I can't remember, maybe it was one of you guys, but someone pointed out that he is going to have a majorly scarred face in the next film because of what Rey does to him at the end of this one, and I'm very curious to see like how his makeup looks.
Well, I also heard on the rumorville that he's also going to have a new mask.
Really?
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind that either. I mean, I like this one, but
I heard that like when they were planning this, when this was going to come out, everyone, the toy companies were really banking on him being the most marketable character. And then it ends up being Rey, and they had no idea what to do.
They didn't even make a Rey action figure, isn't that right? Or
I just heard that they were like woefully underprepared for the demand.
You know, it's funny.
I will say that him like blocking a laser with the Force, that's pretty menacing.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That
Yeah.
was cool.
One of the things I like to see as a Star Wars nerd is, the powers of what you can do with the Force evolving. You know, I don't want to see the same thing. I mean, it was kind of like how, in Return of the Jedi you hadn't seen Force lightning yet. And this movie has some new things. And the most interesting one, I think, is, aside from the blaster bolt hovering in the air, is Kylo Ren's persuasion. He can actually manipulate people into telling them things.
Yeah. Did you read the Darth Vader comic? The one just ended.
I didn't know.
Oh, it's so good. It's Kieran Gillen writing it, Salvador Larroca on artwork.
Oh, I love his artwork.
Or La Roca, it's 2 R's. I'm not good at Spanish pronunciations. Anyway, one of the things, like, in the first story arc, what happens is Darth Vader. It takes place between New Hope and Empire. So the Death Star just blew up, and Vader has been demoted because he's taken the responsibility. And so he's kind of investigating. We got three things going on. He's kind of starting to make moves against the Emperor. So he's investigating what the Emperor's doing. He's building his own power base, and he's trying to look into who was the rebel pilot who blew up the Death Star. Who is that kid? And
who was that weaselly little farm boy?
Yeah. And he's looking, and he finds out that the Emperor has been training basically fake Jedis, just like taking soldiers and teaching them how to use a lightsaber. And Vader thinks that's perverse because that's it's defiling his faith and the Force, and he shuts it down with extreme prejudice.
I don't blame him. I think that's a really horrible idea. I mean, bad stuff happens when you give people the lightsaber and they're not prepared for it.
Yeah. It's a really good comic. You get to see the moment where he realizes who Luke Skywalker is, and it's really intense.
That's pretty cool.
So this was between episode 4 and 5?
Yeah. It's a recent publication, and it's super great.
I gotta check this out.
Yeah.
Well, now we have Finn. We're seeing him, John Boyega's character, seeing him with his mask off or Stormtrooper helmet off for the first time, and
he's my boy, Yeager.
He's such a great character. Yeah, I do think I have to fault Abrams and his co-writer Lawrence Kasdan for how they set up Finn at the beginning. I still think it's a little hazy what snaps him out of his stormtrooper training, because if every stormtrooper wigged out every time they saw a stormtrooper die, there'd be a lot of rogue stormtroopers running around. So I'm hoping that in episode 8 we'll get a little more clarification on how he was able to break free, and maybe it has something to do with the fact that he has the Force. He did wield a lightsaber pretty well at the end of this film, so I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. And here we have Rey.
Yay, Rey!
Do 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 do. John Williams has said that he was going to keep scoring these movies because he doesn't want anyone else to write music for Daisy Ridley, and it's a beautiful theme song. I don't blame him.
I mean, I thought he was going to keep scoring those movies because money and prestige. And
Mo, sacrilege.
He's quite up there, isn't he? Like close to 90 now.
He is so old. I mean, well into his 80s.
Well, he's gonna be credit forever. But
he's been working. He's been working forever, man.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I mean, I think there are some composers now who do some extraordinary work, like Hans Zimmer and Michael Giacchino and Stephen Price. But I still think John Williams is the master. I think his imagination, his ability to come up with fresh sounds is pretty much unparalleled.
Especially for fantasy films.
Yes, yeah. I think
he's done all the Star Wars films, right?
Yeah, except for Rogue One. Yeah.
Who did Rogue One?
I forget.
Michael Giacchino wrote that score in like 4 weeks, and as you'll find out when you see it, you can tell.
Too busy working on Doctor Strange.
Oh my gosh! I mean, Michael Giacchino. He's a genius. I think his music is just like
I'm a fan.
It's from heaven. Yeah, but I think he works too much, frankly.
Yeah, there are worse problems to have than working too much.
There are, no doubt about that. The interesting thing about this sequence, where we're seeing Rey. We've just met her. She's cleaning some Star Warsy gadget now. She does. I think this moment here is the first time she's spoken since we've seen her, and it's kind of interesting that there's a lot of Star Wars is usually pretty dialogue heavy, but we have a silent introduction to this very important and really wonderful new character.
Yeah.
And there's Simon Pegg in a fat suit.
Yes, yeah, which I hear was enhanced slightly with CGI. I did not know that until a couple days ago.
Instabread time, yeah!
I love it. I love it with, like, you know, she's got her own Star Wars action figure. It's like, you know, she's a fan, you know, like she's a metaphor for, you know, for us, I think, in a way.
Yeah.
This is another departure with instant bread here. Not a lot of food in Star Wars.
Yeah. That's the Star Wars version of ramen.
Yes.
That makes sense. I've heard the theory that, like the popular theory about who her parents are is that she's, like, the son of Skywalker.
Right.
But I've heard the idea that her mother was actually Captain Phasma.
That's interesting.
And that, like, she knew she had a Force-sensitive kid, and she hid her away on Jakku so that the First Order wouldn't get to her.
That's not a bad theory.
Which...
It would give us more Phasma if, you know,
Yeah,
if there was a story behind it.
definitely
Which would
need
be
that.
good. I have to admit, it really annoys me that they even, Abrams and Kathleen Kennedy and company, even thought to come up with another main Star Wars hero where there's a question about their parentage. Like, I mean, you know, repetition is one thing. Like, I like, you know, visual repetition, and there's a lot of it in this film. I think that has kind of the beautiful poetry. But, again, you know, I mean, if there's a duel in Episode 8 where, you know, Kylo Ren says, "I am your brother," or something, I swear to God I will walk out of the theater right then. I won't really, but, you know, I will be distressed. Yeah.
I mean, I get the nostalgia angle for this one, but let's
absolutely.
move on.
Yeah, you got to move on at a certain point.
I think Rian Johnson's smarter than that, but I'm a really big fan of Rian Johnson.
Rian Johnson is really talented. Yeah, I mean,
Like, he directed the best episodes of Breaking Bad. He directed Ozymandias, which is the best episode.
nice. Well, I mean, Brick, his first film. I mean, you know, when you look at that, it's like, that was your first film, man. You know, like, I mean, he's pretty ingenious.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one. I saw Looper. I've seen some of the TV he's directed. But I'm looking forward to seeing what he does.
Yeah. Oh, I just have to talk about this. We just saw a transition to this part with Poe Dameron on the Star Destroyer. We saw a little, the little circle zoom thingy.
Yeah.
What do you call it again?
Circle wipe or something?
Yeah, something like that. That is one of the best nods in the movie, I think, to the original films. Like, stuff like that is considered, I mean, you know, considered to be so cheesy and so passe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yet it's George Lucas kind of made it his signature, and I appreciate it on this film. They were willing to, you know, take something really ridiculous looking like that, and, you know, like, say, hey, it's part of the Star Wars experience. Let's embrace it.
Well, they did a similar thing with when they were shooting out Firefly, the show.
Oh, really?
Where they had they talked about, like, there were scenes where they would just have not just shaky cams, but, like, zoom-ins where the focus went out and then came back in. And it was kind of... It looked kind of rough. It's the stuff you usually leave on the editing room floor. But it gives it its really signature look. And that's part of why the series worked.
I enjoy stuff like that, and there's a great behind-the-scenes documentary on Abrams' first Star Trek film, where they talk about, like, how he would do things like in post-production, like have them add, like, grime to the images and make it look like there was dust on the lens and stuff, and you know, that's
that sounds like something he would do.
It does, yeah. And, you know, I am it is, you know, as a director of, you know, big studio entertainments, I don't think he's half as talented as, you know, James Cameron, but I prefer the kind of rough, lived-in look of, you know, J.J. Abrams' films to what Cameron went for on Avatar, where, like, everything's super clean and computery looking and antiseptic, and the trees look like your screensaver on your laptop.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's kind of the point, but yeah.
Yeah, that probably was the point.
Like, Avatar is supposed to be like, hey, look at the beauty of nature, even though it's super fake, so let's not destroy it.
I love that. Can they put that? Can they put that on the DVD?
Is that going to be the tagline?
It's the beauty of nature, but it's super fake. Don't destroy it.
So, here they begin their love affair and their escape.
Oh, it's the best love affair in the movie.
Oh, yeah.
If they don't consummate it by episode 9, I'm done. No more Star Wars.
I just want confirmation that Poe Dameron is gay. That's all. Finn, maybe not. I don't know. But definitely for Poe.
Poe Dameron is gay. The question is whether Lucasfilm knows he's gay. Because in his heart, he's gay.
The question that I want to know is how the hell did he escape from the crash?
Yes, yeah.
There's no clue on it.
Okay, but a little behind the scenes story. Poe Dameron was actually meant to die, yeah. And so I guess they decided to bring him back so they didn't explain things properly. And
it's like, and their answer was, you don't care, you get to look at Oscar Isaacs more.
Right. And this is another issue with this movie. I mean, it was... the screenplay was written in less time than you might imagine for such a big production. And J.J. Abrams and Lawrence Kasdan, they were both all over the globe, and they as they reported in Vanity Fair, it came to this sort of thing like, oh, we're both going to be able to be in Paris for this one day. Let's get together and work on the script, and and there are moments when it shows. I mean, all things considered, I think they they overcame that, but there are little things that they could have fixed.
It's weird how it works. I was reading an interview with Jason Aaron, comic book writer.
Yeah,
and he's working on one of the Star Wars comic. I think the main Star Wars thing. Him and why can't I remember his name? John Cassidy.
That guy's such a great artist.
He's super
I love
great.
him.
And Jason Aaron was talking about writing this series because it came to an end, called Scalped, which was a crime drama that was set on an Indian reservation. And he talks about the artist on it, R.M. Guerra, is Serbian, and he that's where he lives, and they would communicate via email, and I don't think R.M. Guerra actually spoke English, so they would translate like script details and information into his native language, and it's amazing how well the comic book turned out.
That's really impressive. I mean, especially for collaboration, artist and writer. That's really kind of an intimate thing. I mean, that's a huge achievement.
Yeah.
General Hux, your acting is so over the top.
Oh my gosh,
I barely remember this guy.
I gotta say, I mean, for sheer ridiculousness, in the best way possible, he's one of the better characters in the film. I can't wait till we get to the part where he says, all systems will bow to the first order. He's just
That was the best.
well, he's just going crazy.
He's making a big Nazi speech. He's got to go over the top.
Oh yeah. By the way, it's getting a little lazy how often in pop culture you see Nazi iconography used to denote these characters are bad.
That was something I was thinking about, whenever you got a show where the main characters are criminals, like you got Oz or Breaking Bad or Sons of Anarchy, you always have the main criminals and then the Nazis,
right?
Like the white supremacist guys, and it's like, well, we're bad guys, but we're not that bad.
Right. It's Yeah, then it's almost like it's letting certain characters off the hook, which, you know, I mean...
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah. Oh, this is something I really want to talk about. We have a female Imperial officer here. There were no women in the Imperial Army in the original trilogy, and the way the novels explained it was that, you know, the Empire was a horrible...
Institutional sexism?
Yeah, you know, misogynistic society. But, you know, now we've got a woman working on a Star Destroyer, which begs the question, is the First Order a more open-minded group of de facto Nazis?
They're the alt order.
The alt order, yeah. They're just alt, you know?
Yes. They're the alt empire. I was listening to a guy on YouTube, H-Bomber Guy is his name, and he just watches videos made by like alt-right commentators.
Oh yeah,
and just makes fun of them.
Nice.
And one of them, he's talking to this guy, and this guy is very much explaining that he does not hate Jewish people. He hates the international Jewish spanking conspiracy, but not individual Jewish people. So he's not an anti-Semite, you see.
Oh, for Christ's sake.
And, like, he explains it, like, 3 different times. And it's like, wow, you're really trying to make us believe that you're not an anti-Semite.
This is the worst thing about people, like, you know, who believe in really horrible ideologies. They have all these, like, just awful, like,
they can
like
back
justifications.
Up with facts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, quote unquote facts. Yeah,
Mental gymnastics.
Yeah.
That's like, again, I'm going to talk about comics that have nothing to do with this movie. Like, a little bit to do with this movie.
Well, this movie's pretty comic booky.
But guy who writes the Darth Vader comic, Kieran Gillen, he also writes The Wicked and the Divine, and he's I read one of the recent issues where it's about all the main characters are musicians, and so he set up an issue where he just got a bunch of journalist friends to write interviews with these characters.
Oh, really?
And so he wrote interviews with Woden, who's one of the members of the Pantheon. And Woden is the worst person. He is terrible. He's a racist and a sexist and a misogynist. He enjoys using women. He's the worst person. And the thing that I find fascinating about him is that he knows it. Like, He doesn't make any apologies. He's not like, I'm not gonna... he doesn't justify his terrible behavior at all. It's just like, you know what? I'm going to be dead in 2 years. I'm going to get mine first.
Wow.
And he's like, I tried to think of a reason to do the right thing, and I couldn't come up with one.
That is, I mean, that's an interesting thing, and it's actually kind of uncommon, I feel, in real life. Like,
yeah,
you don't get a lot of people who own up to their awfulness. You get a lot of people, I mean, the worst people are, you know, I think people like Kylo Ren have this weird justification.
Yeah, they either don't believe they're doing the wrong things, or they just, like, dismiss any claims. It's like, oh, you're just trying to say that to end the conversation and to shut me up. You know, it's like, no, there's a point.
Reminds me of the scene in Revenge of the Sith where Obi-Wan says, you know, Anakin, Chancellor Palpatine is evil, and, you know, Hayden Christensen says, from my point of view, the Jedi are evil. And I keep horrible acting, but it's an interesting moment, you know.
Almost. It's sort of, it is weirdly reflective, because it's like, just that phrasing, from my point of view, the Jedi are evil. It's not.
It sounds a bit weak.
It's not, but it's not him stating a fact. It's him stating a belief.
Yes.
And in the the modern era, a lot of people justify being these terrible opinions with what they think are facts.
Right. Right.
So, or at least saying like, "Hey, let's keep the debate alive so that they can say their piece." You know.
Right.
Like, there was a interview Trevor Noah on The Daily Show did with Tommy Lauren, who is, like, he described her once as the most awake, least woke person ever, where she just has a Facebook show where she yells a lot of angry, right-wing conservative viewpoints at people. And has likens the Black Lives Matter movement to the KKK.
Oh, jeez.
And he asked her to explain that, and he's like talking to her about it, and people got angry at him. Some people like praised him because he's like reaching out a hand and trying to understand other people, and some people got angry at him because it's like, no, you're giving a platform and a voice to white nationalism and white supremacy,
Right.
and at some points you gotta agree with that. So with the logic of like, you can't change these minds.
Right.
You can't like trying to understand them is doable, but is it worth your time? Is it worth your time? It's not. You're not going to convince them to come to the other side.
NPR's gotten criticisms like that too. Oh, sorry, Patrick.
No, I was just going to say it's not difficult to understand them just by reading their literature.
Yeah.
You don't have to put them on TV.
That's true. That's very true. Yeah.
So yeah, from my point of view, the Jedi are evil. I feel
The phrasing tells you something right there.
it had some relevance to the modern day. It's like, let's have a discussion on whether or not the Jedi are good or evil.
Right.
That's not what it is in the context of the movie. And the context is just it's those movies.
Well, the thing is like Star Wars, you know. I mean, Star Wars is not like Star Trek. Star Trek is an allegory. Star Wars is a fairy tale.
Yeah.
And you wanna give with Star Wars. I think Star Wars at its best gets into interesting things like moral ambiguities in a fairy tale sort of way. Like the arc of the original trilogy, one of many arcs, was Luke Skywalker finding out his father is a tyrant, and that kind of is really, that simple thing is sort of a metaphor for, in my opinion, his understanding that the world is more complex than he's realized. And, it's like, the kind of, you were saying, you don't necessarily want to get into a discussion like, are the Jedi good or evil? I mean, it's like, well, it's an archetypal thing, they're an archetypal personification of good.
Oh, wait, it's about to happen. Hey!
Dun-dun, dun-dun, dun. And now we have the Millennium Falcon.
Chewie, we're home.
Yes. I first watched the trailer with the Chewie Your Home line when I was it was when I was visiting the University of Oregon. I hadn't decided I was going to go there yet, and of course I ultimately did. And so I was with my sister was there at the time, and I was watching the trailer with her, and I think she was slightly alarmed by how excited I got at the Chewie Your Home line. it was a full fanboy bit of mania.
I'm gonna finish eating this pizza, and then I'm gonna talk.
I'm surprised we're not seeing a teaser for episode 8 yet. And it's already a year away.
Yeah, I wonder if it's to try and they don't want to get in the way of the Rogue One marketing blitz.
Probably, that's probably what it is.
We got a teaser for Rogue One around the time The Force Awakens went on DVD, so maybe when Rogue One goes on DVD?
Maybe. I've heard that we're getting a Justice League teaser before the end of the year. Really? So that's something to look forward to, question mark.
That's only a couple of weeks from now.
Yeah.
I actually liked, I have to admit,
the teaser?
Yeah, the Comic-Con teaser. Yeah.
It looks like, hey, remember fun? We used to have fun.
Yeah.
Maybe we should try that again.
The question is, can Zack Snyder do fun well? Actually, the question is, can Zack Snyder do anything well? Yeah.
He knows how to move a camera, and he knows how to make things look good on screen. Beyond that, I got nothing. I've defended that guy for a while, and it has not got me anywhere, so... You know what? Batman v Superman was crap. the Watchmen movie is probably the best thing he'll ever do. That's all I got.
And they're still sticking by him. It was just surprising.
Oh, they're insane for doing that. I think the only reason they stick by him is his movies look pretty, and you can pretty looking but horrible movie. You can cut it to a beautiful teaser and get 150 million on opening weekend, and then you got momentum. I mean, like I find it funny. Superman Returns, which I personally think is a masterpiece. Superman Returns is regarded as a financial failure, and rightly so. It was it was a box office bomb, but it was actually much better reviewed than Man of Steel. But Superman Returns had a very weak marketing campaign. Man of Steel had a masterful marketing campaign, and the commercial aspect plays a lot into this, to say the least.
Superman Returns was. I watched bits of it recently, and it's like I remember why this didn't work. Like
I feel like it worked personally, but
it's a similar problem to what Man of Steel has, in that it doesn't entirely get Superman. And here, it's trying to in Superman Returns, it's trying to make the case for Superman's existence, and I don't think it needs to do that.
See, I saw it a little bit differently. I saw it in terms of it's not necessarily about Superman. It's about a very specific interpretation of Superman. It's about the retro Superman of the Christopher Reeve era, and it was kind of saying, does that specific guy, this kind of peaceful chivalrous guy, does he have a place in the 21st century? And I think the answer in the movie was, he can never have the same place he had, because the world has changed, pop culture has changed, but that doesn't mean there isn't something to gain from kind of revisiting that.
I said just the fact that a lot of the movie centered around Lois Lane not wanting to see Superman again doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
Sure, I can understand that. Yeah.
But in the third act, it's a whole lot of just city destruction, and Superman saves people. And I'm like, well, where was that in Man of Steel? The giant alien subwoofer was turning Metropolis into a pancake. Where's Superman? You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean, yeah. And I mean, that last act of Man of Steel remains, I think, one of the dumbest things I've ever seen in a movie, at least in this decade, if not of all time.
The visceral action scenes are fun, and I'm glad it's okay, let's have Superman actually punch a guy as our climax. But it doesn't work. We should be talking about Star Wars, shouldn't we?
Star Wars.
First rant scene.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, he has his first temper tantrum?
Yep.
I find it interesting, these moments tend to get a really good reaction in the theater, it seems like. Especially the one later where the stormtroopers kind of
back away slowly.
Wrong, Ren smash.
Ren smash.
Those are expensive, man. You know how much of our computer budget just goes to you throwing temper tantrums?
It'd be so funny if his whole ship crashes because of that. The end.
Yes, man.
Episode 9 and 10 are cancelled.
That whole new trilogy,
8 and 9
that's over. By the way, brilliant cut there by the editors, Marion Brandon and Mary Jo Markey, where he goes, "What girl?" and then they cut to her face.
Yeah.
I love that. So smooth.
He doesn't speak robot. That's the first time someone's ever actually said that, I think.
I always kind of like that, because, it was taken for granted in the previous films that, everyone knows what R2-D2's saying, and,
And Chewie.
Right, and now, but in this movie, finally, it's not everybody's gonna know how. I mean...
I got a question.
See, that thing, I don't know if he's, giving a thumbs up or flipping the bird.
Yeah, it could be either.
I think it's meant to be ambiguous. You can go both ways. So I have a question.
Yeah.
Would you say that this movie is really Abramsy, like a typical Abrams movie?
That's so Abramsy, I think.
I haven't seen enough Abrams to comment. I've seen the Star Trek movies. I think that's it. But from what I've heard, Abrams is a really good mimic. He's very good at copying like the look and vibe of other directors.
Well,
So this is like just a George Lucas movie with a few modern touches and some Abrams isms.
Well, let's take a look back. I mean, Abrams has only directed 5 films: Mission Impossible 3, Star Trek, Super 8, Star Trek Into Darkness, and now The Force Awakens. And all of those films tell exactly the same story. They all begin with someone being killed. In this movie, it's Max von Sydow's character, and they're all the story of how, in the aftermath of that death, a team forms to fight evil. And I think and I agree with you. His style is very much about mimicry. I mean, just look at it. Look at his filmography. He's only made 1 film that's not a sequel. And like I think the main thing that he's been able to carve out within the mimicry is really, I think his movies are a lot about death and about recovering from death, whether it's the death of Captain Kirk's father or the death of Captain Pike and Into Darkness.
Hey!
Han and Chewie!
Look at that old guy.
I think it's interesting that that he left Star Trek to do this, to go back to the beginning of a franchise as well. I think he likes getting things started, and
I hope he comes back in the next 2 films. I mean, to film some nostalgia scenes.
Oh, Han? Or...
Yeah, I would love to see more Han Solo.
Yeah.
Well,
like as a flashback or something, you thinking? Or?
Yeah, like with him and Kylo Ren growing up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Because we will see more Kylo Ren.
We will.
Yeah.
We will. Yeah.
they are doing the Han Solo movie, the prequel movie, with Alden Ehrenreich. Is that
Yeah. By the way, I gotta say he's a pretty solid choice. I think.
Yeah. Well, the Coens like him, so
Yeah.
he's gotta have something going for him. And Donald Glover as Lando, and I am so happy.
I'm really looking forward to that.
Did you watch Atlanta?
I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good, and it's so weird.
Did he create that?
Yeah.
Nice.
That was him. He created it. He stars in it.
By the way, I love Harrison Ford's look on his face, looking at the Millennium Falcon dashboard right here. I don't know how happy he was to be stuck doing this again, but he looks he looks like he's really happy. It's very good acting, even if he's
acting.
not. By the way, I certainly have a lot of issues with the brain trust over at Lucasfilm and how they're running things now. But they do one thing they do really well is they look out for their fans, and like they could have put anyone in that Chewie costume, but they put Peter Mayhew, who's been doing it since 1977.
Doesn't he have like plastic knees now?
Yeah. He walks with a cane now, and I give him a lot of credit for doing stuff like that, and it's.
And Kenny Baker, he was like too old to do the R2 stuff, but he was there as an advisor or something.
He was. Oh, that's cool. See, I didn't even know
He
that.
passed
That's
away
awesome.
this year, though.
Yeah. Oh, so sad. Did you guys see the New Yorker cartoon where C-3PO's it's C-3PO, R2, and Luke, and C-3PO says he feels empty inside.
I think I saw that. Yeah.
Didn't him and
Something
Anthony
like
Daniels actually hate each other?
Oh, really?
That's another thing I heard. I'm not going to confirm it. That's just what I heard. That they did not get along well.
There have been star issues throughout the making of the saga for sure.
And Carrie Fisher said in her autobiography that she and Harrison Ford had an affair.
Yeah.
Well,
that was kind of surprising.
Yeah.
It makes me look at the scenes between them differently now.
I gotta say, this explains a lot because their chemistry was perfect.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It was pretty
pretty
smashing.
good.
Now we have the Rathtars and the Death Gang, and I heard some people didn't, or I heard at least one person didn't care for the Rathtars, but I actually thought this was a really funny bit, and I like how this movie is sort of a non-stop,
Yeah,
series
this
of
just
chills
kind of
and
bugs
spills.
me. Like, you got two of the guys from the raid movies there,
Oh
and
yeah,
you don't have them fight.
yeah,
Like, what
yeah.
the hell?
I gotta say that is pretty ridiculous. I mean, that's
Like, I get it at some points. Like, you're not gonna have him fight Harrison Ford because he's 80 years old and he doesn't want to be here. But come on, man.
they could have had.
Did you see the raid movies? The raid movies were awesome.
I haven't seen them. I gotta see them.
Oh, they're
But those movies are all like physical action, right?
Yeah, it's
Like,
all pan checks a lot. It's martial arts.
They should have. I don't know. It would have been cool if they brought him in as like Jedi or something. They could be like flipping around and.
Oh yeah.
And then there's this guy. I forget his name, but the guy who has what sounds like a Scottish accent, which as someone of Scottish descent, I'm glad to see the Scots finally making it into Star Wars.
That's the other thing I love about like fantasy and sci-fi movies like this. They really play accent roulette.
They do, yeah. As in, Han Solo, you're a dead man. Best line in the movie. Even better than, I'm being torn apart by this pain. Which we will get to later, of course.
And then there's this big whatever it is.
Oh yes, now the Rathtars come.
That's what it's called. Rathtar?
Yeah, the
That-
Rathtars.
I mean, it seems a bit obvious, don't it?
Like something out of Final Fantasy.
Yeah. Star Wars
like
names are
Dark
always
Souls.
funny. It isn't like Star Trek where you can have a character that actually has a normal name or something. Everything has to be different,
Like Ray is Ray, Finn, and Finn are like fairly normal names. And
Yeah, except they
Dameron.
did Ray with an E, so
Yeah. And you can call that a regional variant.
that's true.
I
That's
once
true.
I heard of a family who they named their daughter Caitlin, but they wanted it to be different, so it's spelled like KVIIILIN. So it's K Roman numeral 8 Lin. Which, like, if you're gonna do that, you should probably have your kids taken away.
Okay.
That's, I mean, no judgment, but that's kind of terrible.
Yeah.
I feel bad for that kid.
You know.
I think people are going to be asking her all their life. So is it Kvailin?
Kavilin? Ooh, we're having calamari giant.
Nothing like a nice pair of tentacles. There we have Han using Chewie's crossbow for, as a matter of fact, the first time in all the movies. He never laid a hand on it in the original.
What is the
trilogy.
kickback like on that thing?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Because I feel like if that's a super powerful weapon and a Wookiee is using it, and like staying perfectly still, if a human uses it, he's gonna get knocked on his ass.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
But Star Wars and realism have rarely occupied the same place.
Except for the realistic depictions of fiery explosions in the vacuum of space. That's hardcore realism right there.
As you do.
There were some rumblings online that some people theorizing that after the second Death Star gets destroyed in Return of the Jedi, that there's a huge fallout on Endor that kills all the Ewoks, you know, and that's I think Pablo Hidalgo, who's kind of keeps track of continuity over at Lucasfilm in the pages of the Star Wars Insider magazine. He said, you know, no, somehow miraculously the Ewoks live happily ever after. Which the one novel theorized was because a wormhole opened in space and sucked the debris through. But you know, there you go.
Hey, it's Snoke.
It's Snoke. Okay, I'm not the biggest fan of Snoke, but I'm curious to what do you guys think of?
There's not really enough of him there for me to make a judgment.
That's fair. Yeah.
He's like a big spooky hologram in a chair. I can't really. I've heard the theory that he's like Darth Bane or Plagueis or whoever was like the first Sith.
Yeah, I've heard that too. Yeah.
And I don't care enough about the expanded universe to say. I don't know. Maybe he's just like some. Universe is a big place. Maybe there was a secret Sith order that nobody knew about. In the Rebels cartoon, they introduced the Inquisitors, and that like they were the people who hunted the last of the Jedi who survived Order 66.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And they were, and they're like Sith in training, so they have Force stuff and they have lightsabers, and they're on the lookout for any remaining Jedi. So I'm guessing Snoke may have been part of that. And like everything Disney does now is canon, so
right.
They're there.
I just have to say one thing I love about the scene is when Kylo Ren says about Han Solo, he means nothing to me. I swear to God, his mask almost changes expression. You know, it's such a maybe it's the camera angle or something.
Or the lighting.
Yeah, or the lighting. Yeah, that would make sense. But it's kind of in the way that, you know, I feel like there were ways they made Darth Vader and C-3PO look sad in the original films.
Okay,
here's with Kylo Ren there.
Here's the other thing. Like, why does this hologram have to be that big?
Yeah.
Well, the question is Snoke normal sized or is Snoke really that big?
But yeah, either way, you can choose how big it is. You can be at eye level with this dude.
That's true.
You don't have to have him be like the Overlord, the great and powerful Oz.
Yeah. Well, even in the Empire Strikes Back, the Emperor's hologram was bigger than Darth Vader, but it wasn't that big.
Well, I guess I get it. Like with the Empire, with the Emperor, it's like he's trying to. He wants to be imposing.
Right. Patrick, how do you feel about Snoke? Do you think he's a satisfactory?
Again, he's
villain?
one of those side characters that they didn't really build upon in this movie, just like Phasma. I guess we'll see more of him later.
Yeah.
That's the key difference between this and New Hope. This was built with sequels in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, look, space chess.
Woo! I got to say, like, to a certain extent, I like playing for sequels. To a certain extent, I don't. I like getting a little taste of the future. I like having something to look forward to. But I also, I also like something Christopher Nolan said, where he said, you know, you never count on a sequel. You put every good idea you got into the movie. And he, in fact, did not. He, in fact, originally planned to have Harvey Dent become Two-Face in The Dark Knight Rises, not The Dark Knight. But he found out it worked better in the second film, and I think I think there's a danger in saving too much for the future, and I like. This is one thing the original Star Wars trilogy got really well was A New Hope was very self-contained, and even Empire Strikes Back, even with its cliffhanger ending, I think it was very self-contained because it wasn't a cliffhanger. It wasn't, you know, Mark Hamill suddenly appears. It was, you know, they got a long journey ahead of them, but they've completed one phase, and you know,
It was a real chapter ending.
It was a real chapter ending. Yes.
I would have to echo your sentiment on that. I feel like in this current Hollywood system that we live in, where it's all about franchise building now, I kind of feel like it encourages lazy writing.
I have to agree.
You know, when I go in to watch a film, I want a top-notch film in and of itself. I don't want to sit in there knowing that I'm going to be back a year later. You know,
yes.
I don't really like that so much. I feel like I'm just watching Netflix in a big screen.
I feel the same way. I want to like have a complete and whole experience that leaves me satisfied.
Right.
You know?
I mean, you can compare this to a New Hope, where A New Hope had loose ends because George Lucas was kind of imagining like this was a serial a little bit,
Totally.
but he wasn't planning on making another movie. Compared to this film, where they are already planning the next movie, so
yeah,
in the writing phase, some of it seems kind of lazy. Like, why don't we see more of Phasma? Why don't we know more about Snoke? You know,
yeah.
I mean, they could have easily added 3 to 5 minutes more to make these characters, come out a little bit more. But they're saying, oh, we're just gonna throw it in the next movie anyway. So.
Well, part of it is that they gotta pass the torch. They gotta introduce the new kids and the old ones.
For sure.
So
for sure.
we gotta spend a fair amount of time with Han Solo before he dies.
Mm-hmm.
So that we're sad when Han Solo.
No, you spoiled that. No.
Really, we're doing that joke.
Only once. Only
All
once. Well, I mean, this is why this was a challenging movie to do, because trying to create a nostalgic experience, and at the same time look toward the future, and I mean that's a lot to juggle, and if anything, I think the movie's a little too nostalgic, and I kind of hitting all the Star Wars beats like very carefully, and I once saw like an article. I found this kind of funny. A reviewer saying, but do Star Wars fans really want anything new? And it's like, let me refresh your memory, my dear fellow critic. The movie that most of the Star Wars fans say is their favorite is The Empire Strikes Back, which was the one that threw everything out the window and totally changed the Star Wars universe. And I think I think sci-fi fans in general, sci-fi fantasy, comic book fans are more open-minded in general than the studios think, and I think some curveballs, if thrown well in a meaningful way, would be pretty acceptable. Which is
well, again, the last few times we got new stuff was the prequels, so.
See, but this is the issue. Like there's the prequels which were doing new stuff, but like straying like too far from the things we loved.
No, I felt it was the opposite. I felt it was just closing in on one particular aspect that worked. Like it's just Jedi stuff, and
that's a good point.
And like you don't have the Han Solo. You don't have someone on the ground like a normal person who's offering their perspective.
You're absolutely right. That was one of the biggest problems with the prequels. Yeah.
Speaking of which, there's rumors about the Disney's is going to redo the prequels. I don't know if that's
how or not. Redo them how?
I guess take the same core story elements and then just reboot.
Smoosh it into one movie.
I love the idea of righting all wrongs, but after the prequels, I don't know if I want to spend any more time with Anakin and Padme.
Yeah.
But imagine this: what if Anakin Skywalker had a good actor?
That's true. That's true. Yeah. You were. I mean, they could have been a really compelling character with the right actor.
Yeah, whatever happened to Hayden Christensen? He just disappeared.
The funny thing is, he actually is a good actor. Like Shattered Glass, he was brilliant, and
he's a decent actor.
Yeah, and then, but I mean, who would hire him after you underestimate my powers. I mean, that would kill even anyone's career.
He doesn't like sand.
It's rough. It's coarse. And it gets everywhere.
Oh Lord.
While we're making fun of him, I just have to get this in there.
So
being around Padme is intoxicating.
Wow, that's a really creepy thing to say. I forgot about. I have not seen the prequels in a long time, so
I've seen them too many times.
A lot of the worst aspects of it, they're slipping my mind.
It's kind of funny. I thought the Phantom Menace was really good when I first saw it, and
I saw it like 4 times when I was a kid.
I probably saw it 4 times when I was a kid too.
Like I would just zone out until it's like nothing. Pod race, nothing. Final fights, the end.
I do have to admit the final duel between Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan and Darth Maul is probably one of the best fights.
Oh yeah, and the music is again. That's why I was asking about John Williams, because that score is awesome.
So awesome. Yeah, I love it.
Now this part.
Kylo Ren hanging out with Darth Vader's mask.
Just hanging out with Gramps.
Gramps.
You know.
Being a fanboy.
Did either of you guys read emo Kylo Ren's Twitter account?
Oh yeah.
I probably caught one or two of those.
It was pretty good.
It seems like it's exactly what it sounds like.
It is. It's exactly So here's a mystery that's yet to be solved. Who recovered the Darth Vader's mask from the funeral pyre on Endor? Cause
I imagine it was him, and he slaughtered a bunch of Ewoks while he was there.
that would make sense. Yeah. But there's a lot of this, and you know that's one thing this film does very well is, as opposed to picking up right where Return of the Jedi left off, there's a lot of history that kind of sets things in motion, which is nice, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, A New Hope was like that too. You know, it started out there was this history of the Jedi falling and the Empire rising, and I have a theory that when the best films start, a lot has already happened. Because we don't want a movie to start cold where there's like nothing interesting in the past.
I get again. We're gonna praise Fury Road on this because what else are we here to do?
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like
we
just
Fury Road
know
forever.
The basic idea of the world has ended, but then there's the line of who killed the world.
Yeah.
And there's like all the little details they put into how they design all the different cars and all the different characters. And you get a sense of who they are based on what they look like.
Yeah.
What they do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, and the Fury Road, very, very subtly, very quickly establishes this sense of history with like a little flash of a little girl dying and him standing and saying it was hard to know who was crazier, me or everyone else. And that's great movie making right there.
And here we have Lupita Nyong'o.
Yeah.
I'm so glad she's getting work. She's great.
Oh, she's fantastic. Yeah. She I mean she did an exceptional job as Maz Kanata, I think. It's not.
That's also a character we need to learn more about.
Yeah, that's
because it's like, who is this like 1,000-year-old woman running a tavern who knows everything about the Force?
Yeah, and she's clearly, she's clearly special. I mean, she's not a Jedi, but she's obviously in touch with the Force to a degree. And
she's she's Guinan.
She is like Guinan, yes! Yes, she's
she
totally
just needs a silly hat, and then she'll be Guinan from Star Trek.
She's got kind of a beanie, but it's not like Guinan's hat. For sure. That's funny, I was watching TNG earlier today. I love that show. By the way, this is off topic, but Captain Picard is the best captain ever. Discussion's over.
I hear arguments for Sisko.
I love Sisko too. Yeah, actually, Deep Space Nine is my favorite television show of all time. Period.
Mm.
It's a brilliant show.
I really need to see Green Room sometime.
Oh, I haven't seen Green Room yet.
It's on Amazon Prime, and I want to watch it, but I'm too scared.
It does pretty horrifying.
Like super tense ultra violence. But, apparently some Nazis get fucked up, so I'm there.
Always good to see.
It's the American pastime.
Yes, yes.
Well, it also takes place in Oregon, too, right? So that's...
Apparently Patrick Stewart came into the theater where I was working, like, a year ago, before I started working there. But he came in there while they were shooting Green Room.
Wow.
So that's cool.
I believe, I may be wrong about this, but I think he revealed that he was going to be in the next Wolverine film in an interview with the Oregonian.
He's in the trailer.
Yeah. It was
But that's cool. That's Again, we're going off topic, but that's what we do. That's what we get with T.H.O.
Well, it's all a cornucopia of pop culture done.
But I was thinking about the X-Men movies. Every X-Men movie, they have to have a point where Professor Xavier can't use his powers.
Yes.
Because otherwise, the movie's over.
Yeah.
But first movie, Mystique knocks him out. Second movie, he gets captured. Third movie, he dies. Wolverine, he's not in it. He's barely in it. What was next? First Class, they actually keep him there. Like, he's actually doing stuff. But they just keep his focus on Magneto and Shaw. Apocalypse, they give him the magic drugs that make him walk again, but also take away his powers, because those two things are connected. Because that's how the body works, is that you can heal spinal injuries, but suppress mental functions with the same medicine.
Hank McCoy is a genius.
What?
You know?
That
No, I'm
movie.
just kidding.
I forgive a lot in that movie, and I really shouldn't. And then in Apocalypse, they're just like, oh, the bad guy's immune to telepathy, so there's no point.
Right.
And then it looks in Logan, that's what it's called. In Logan, it's going to be he has Alzheimer's.
Right. Which, I gotta say, even as an X-Men fan, I've been really disappointed in all of the most recent X-Men films, Deadpool included, in terms of visuals and how flat they look. And that's one thing that The Force Awakens does well. There's not much I can complain about visually here.
Another question we don't have yet: how did Mascanata get the lightsaber?
Yeah. A good question for another time. She said. No, yeah, there's and that thing's been missing forever. I mean, it's been missing since the Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
This is another example of what we talked about earlier in terms of kind of setting up sequels, and there's a little bit of vagueness, and I was never a fan of flashing back to her as a little girl, because I think that's done too much in movies, and
It's a little on the nose.
Yeah, I don't know, this is going to sound vague, but it doesn't feel Star Warsy to me, because flashbacks are not big in Star Wars, and I
we haven't had any of those in the Star Wars movies, have we?
Yeah, and I want Star Wars to grow, I want it to change, I want it to reinvent itself, but I want it to always get the vibe right.
My take on that is what I was saying earlier about the whole franchise building. It makes it feel a little more like a made-for-TV movie as opposed to an actual motion picture, and it jumps out at me even more as we're watching it on the smaller screen.
I agree. Yeah, it's a little.
And it's not just Force Awakens. I think it's true of a lot of movies that are coming out now.
Yeah. I mean, like they, they had when they did the Amazing Spider-Man, that stupid, prologue with that little kid playing a young Andrew Garfield. It's like, it still makes me want to throw things at the screen.
Yeah, but Spider-Man 2, the Amazing Spider-Man 2 still is just it baffles me that movie exists in that state.
That is a horrible movie.
But it's like, let's do 6 different things and then let's half-ass all of them.
Yeah. Oh, it was a disaster. There's no sugarcoating it.
Yeah. But now he's gonna go to Marvel, and he's gonna be Tom Holland, and everything's okay. I hope.
Now we got. This is a scene I wanted to talk about. Maz Kanata tries to give her the lightsaber. She rejects it, and I think we've talked about Joseph Campbell a fair number of times before here, and this
definitely there.
Yeah, and this is one of the things that Joseph Campbell identified in all heroes' journeys and all kinds of mythologies. That there's a moment where the hero rejects the call to adventure, and this is
and there are consequences.
Yeah,
for that.
And that's one of the strongest things about this film, I think, is that it adheres to these kind of here we go. General Hux,
it's your boy.
the speech.
Would you like to do the honor of
I would.
doing speech.
We're doing this. We're
At
watching
this
this
very
on
moment, in a system far removed, the new republic lies to the galaxy, while secretly supporting the treachery of the loathsome resistance. This fierce machine which you have built, upon which we stand, will bring an end to the Senate, to the cherished fleet. All remaining systems will bow to the First Order, and will remember this as the last day of the Republic. By the way, you people who are listening, I can't see this, but I just spit a ton.
Did anyone just give like the Black Power Fist or something?
I know that. I think it was
Was
supposed.
it the Nazi salute or was it the Black Power Fist or just a thumbs up?
You know, it's kind of weird. It's like I feel like it should be like a Nazi salute, but it kind of looked like a fist, which I don't know. I mean, this whole part, it's charming in its ridiculousness.
That was great.
It's the Death Star.
Yeah, did you say the Death Star?
Yes, that's what we named
The
it last
Death Star.
year, was the Death Star. It's like the Death Star, but bigger.
It's deathier.
It's 50% more deathier than the last Death Star.
Which I gotta say, I mean, it's like, oh my gosh, it's like, making another Death Star. I don't know.
I mean,
It was an homage too far for me, and it still is.
I get you.
It is Death Star. Look how many planets there are.
I know. And by the way, this is kind of interesting. We see the people on.
Is that
this...
Freeman Agyeman?
I don't know.
I
So
heard her role was cut in this movie.
She had a role?
Yeah, they were going to show some more scenes of the Senate. And whatever.
Well, we see, actually people before they're about to be killed in this part, and it's that was different from when we just saw Alderaan die in a flash of light in A New Hope, which
Apparently
I honestly
Princess Leia was not bothered at all by this.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I think Carrie Fisher pointed that out. That Luke's there mourning Obi-Wan because he just died, and then she's like, "Oh, some old guy you knew for 5 minutes died? Well, I'm so sorry. I can't console you. I'm too busy mourning my entire planet."
that does put things in perspective.
My dad was there. All my friends were there. My shoes were there.
Jimmy Smits vaporized into space dust.
Womp womp.
That is a great shot right there.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. It looks like something from the original trilogy. And now Luke's lightsaber. Which
is Anakin's lightsaber.
Yeah. And George
So
Lucas.
Way back.
Yeah. Gosh knows George Lucas has a lot of flaws, but he did he had that same design in Revenge of the Sith, and Obi-Wan picks it up at the end there, and so that lightsaber's been on a long journey.
Mm-hmm.
It has a storied history.
Oh yes.
Not Maz's bar. Wasn't there a thing in the Star Wars Holiday Special where B. Arthur had a bar that got shut down by the Empire?
Yes, there was. I'm pretty sure B. Arthur did have a bar. Yeah, I've still never seen the Holiday Special.
I know that
I've seen bits of it.
Yeah.
Is it as ghastly as legend proclaims?
Yes.
Half the movie is just like Chewbacca's extended family, and there's no subtitles, so it's just Wookiees yelling at each other.
Oh my gosh.
I swear to God, they were all like high on coke or something the entire time they were filming.
And it's the original cast.
Yeah.
That's the weird thing. Having seen Harrison Ford be in that, I can see why he would be reluctant to come back and do more Star Wars stuff.
Yeah. And to think that's how Boba Fett got introduced to the world.
Hey, Boba. I am not a big fan of him. Really, I have no problem with him. It's just people overpraise the hell out of him. I'm like, he did nothing. In 2 movies, he stood around, he looked cool, and then he got killed by a blind man.
Well, he did come back in the comics though. He did some badass stuff.
That's not canon. That's fan fiction.
It's Star Wars Legends now. It's the Legends imprint.
It's fan fiction.
Wait, he came back after he got sucked into the Sarlacc pit?
Hey, he said, and I quote, in the Dark Empire comics, the Sarlacc found me somewhat indigestible. Which, by the way, have you guys read the Dark Empire comics?
No.
These comics are like, they're some of the best Star Wars comics ever. They came out like, I think in the 90s. And
Oh, snap.
yeah, and the art is just insane. Like all these weird, surreal colors. It's some of the most bizarre Star Wars stuff you'll ever see, and it's beautiful, and it's worth checking out.
And there's Trader.
Oh yeah,
TR8R.
I gotta say I've got a soft spot for TR8R. It's pretty cool. I love that he could have just shot Finn, but he gets out his lightning stick thing.
He's filing a complaint. He's very upset. With his co-worker's performance.
He's got pride.
He got something to say, and you're going to hear him say it. Oh, now he's dead.
Is there any chance he could come back?
I don't know.
By the way, it's kind of funny how the stormtrooper armor never stops blaster
I know. They made a joke about that on Rebels, where two of the good guys disguise themselves in stormtrooper armor, and it's like, the armor does nothing, the helmet makes it impossible to see, why do they wear these? And that's why stormtroopers can't hit and get knocked out so easily.
It wouldn't be Star Wars without stormtroopers doing stupid stuff.
Lovers reunited.
Oh yeah. This is also great music. Dun, 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 dun,
And it's Poe!
dun, dun. Yes, welcome back, Poe.
It's the Poe. Hide it.
These aren't X-Wings, right? There's something else?
They are X-Wings.
Oh,
No,
okay.
the shaped
But
like
they're
X's.
kind of new model X-Wings.
Yeah.
I have to admit, I was pretty excited seeing the first trailer, seeing X-Wings again. So all we got were the faux overlarge X-Wings in Revenge of the Sith.
I don't remember. Again.
Not a lot of good stuff to remember in that movie, that's for sure.
Yeah. I remember the big fight on Lava Planet.
Those were really bad special effects.
I remember that, what happened? He killed younglings. I remember the last, 15 minutes of it. Everything else is kind of a blur. Of just, what's his butt? Palpatine talking super slow. He took out Mace Windu.
Right.
That happened.
The opening scene was good in episode 3, I thought.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's an
Where he
incredibly
kills-
long shot.
He kills Christopher Lee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a really beautiful shot, the way Revenge of the Sith opens. You got the the camera panning down to the Star Destroyer, and then the camera following the Jedi fighters through the battle, and the camera's swooping and turning, and it was really beautiful and aerodynamic the way they did that. And the prequels are terrible. There's no
Yeah.
saving them, but
there's stuff that works.
yeah, there's some brilliant filmmaking in there. Not enough to save them, but
I think Lucas was always a better technical director than a storyteller.
yeah.
Oh, Ray's mannequin challenge.
Well, yeah.
That's topical.
Did you say her mannequin challenge?
Yeah.
I like the way her arm's frozen.
This is sufficiently creepy.
I hear there's some fan fiction blossoming about Kylo Ren having a thing for her.
Oh yeah, from day one.
Yeah. I'm really afraid of it's kind of like a train wreck. I'd be curious too. I imagine someday there's going to be a 50 Shades of Grey type of fan fiction with this. 50 Shades of Kylo.
Yeah.
I'm wondering. I've seen this. This is my 4th time already. I'm wondering if Kylo Ren vaguely remembers her as a small kid.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah. Well, because the other theory I had about her parentage is maybe she's a child of one of the Knights of Ren, and maybe that's how she ended up in hiding.
Could be.
Although I don't the age thing might not work out because she and Kylo Ren look pretty close in age. So
Yeah.
maybe that's not feasible.
But I have a feeling Luke knows her. Luke recognizes her.
Well, yeah, because
The way he looks at her in the end, like, oh, it's you.
yeah, and I think you're right because in a way, like this whole movie was a trail of breadcrumbs Luke laid for her to follow.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
And she
It wasn't
vaguely
her
remembers
specifically,
it.
because if it was, then he's got some reach with the Force.
Though that's the question,
just
isn't it?
BB-8 crashes on her planet, finds her, and then Finn shows up, and then they go to the Millennium Falcon so that they can meet Han Solo.
Yeah, the question.
This movie is built on coincidences, but the universe is a smaller place than you think.
That is true. Well, the question is it for her specifically, or did he lay the breadcrumbs, like the map, like just for whoever the next worthy Jedi was? Although, here's...
Hey!
Yay, Carrie Fisher!
Space Mom!
The thing I think is interesting is that, R2D2 doesn't, get out the complete map until she's sort of proved herself by defeating Kylo Ren, and I always interpreted that, to mean, that she, he maybe told R2, don't show her where I am until she's proved she's worthy of being trained. But we'll see. There's a lot of mystery, so it could be something entirely different.
Why does he leave behind a map if he wants to be alone?
I think he was distraught at Kylo Ren overturning his legacy and destroying the new Jedi Order he'd been trying to build, and then he and I think then he went into hiding, but he knew I got to come back at some point, so he said, I'm not going to leave anything to chance. I'm going to watch from afar, and when a new chosen one arises, when that person's ready, when I've seen what they can do and seen them prove themselves.
I thought part of his deal was that he didn't believe in the chosen one.
Not necessarily a chosen one, but someone who's worthy of leading the next generation and worthy of leading the fight against the First Order.
Yeah.
Is this Yavin 5?
This is oh god, it's Elenium. It's Elenium. It's but in the grand tradition of this movie of nodding back to everything, it looks exactly like Yavin. Right down to the mountains and the greenery.
Oh, I read that they shot the last scene in New Hope where they all get the medals.
Oh yeah.
They shot that in Guatemala.
Right.
And
yes.
Oscar Isaac is from Guatemala, so they decided that Poe Dameron was from that planet where they get the medals.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I like that. I do love Poe Dameron.
Okay, that's the gayest line in this movie.
Keep it. It suits you. Oh, I need your help.
All he needed to do is wink, wink.
You gotta love how like Finn is looking around like he's looking for Poe. That's one hell of a violence. There was some criticism of Carrie Fisher's performance in this, and I have to say I think she did fine. I think she did fine. Yeah, I think she did a good job.
She didn't really have a lot to do, but she did fine.
Yeah, I think she really pulled it off, and I'm glad to have her back, and glad that unlike Han, she didn't get dumped off a catwalk.
So I've been calling it for a while now, but I think Carrie Fisher's gonna die in episode 8.
I hope not.
They always kill a character, right, in these movies?
Mm-hmm.
Usually.
Well, the question is, are they gonna kill one of the big three in each one? And it's feasible.
Well, it was fairly. If anyone was going to die, it was going to be Han, because you need Luke alive so he can train the next era of Jedi's, and you can't kill Carrie Fisher because you can't kill the only girl in the Star Wars.
That's true. That's true.
So plus, he kind of doesn't have a place, and I think that's part of the point of this story is that Han is the outsider of the Resistance. He's a smuggler. Hey.
Although I have to admit, I never liked the idea that after Kylo Ren turned to the dark side, he like went off on his own and started smuggling again. Like, I mean, it feels like such a betrayal of the ending of Return of the Jedi, you know, and I feel like the promise of the ending of Return of the Jedi was that there was going to be a measure of happiness, and I don't want Han and Leia having marriage problems. That's just soap operatic crap. I mean,
it makes a certain amount of sense. Like this is a story. This is an idea that pops up in fiction more often recently, and I think it works. Is the idea that you can love someone, but you can still not be right for one another.
It's true. That's true. Yeah, and I think that idea is definitely true. But I just feel like it's I mean it's like like I don't know, to reference one of the more ridiculous parts of one of my favorite television shows, Smallville. They're always breaking up Clark Kent with his various love interests, and it's just to give the plot something to do. And this to me is kind of like that. And I think there would have been a way to have them be together, have them be a couple, and not and still if they really wanted to tell the story, really wanted to have the Kylo Ren thing, I think they could have done it.
Mm.
You still have beef with this movie for killing Han Solo? I know you're
Yeah,
really upset
I
about
do.
it,
I do still have beef. Yeah. I still stand by. I would rather have not have had him in here at all than have him die. And I it's like, yes, the mentor figure has to die, but it's a different thing.
He's the Obi-Wan.
Well, that's the thing. Obi-Wan, when we saw him, he'd only been there for half a movie. So it's like, it's one thing to see, this character we don't know that well die. It's another thing to see this, this childhood icon who means a lot die. And I confess, I enjoy a great death scene. I like that. But, for me, that I still, honestly, for me, that was too much seeing Han go. And I, would rather have not gone down that way, If they really wanted to kill him, why not just make a clean break and start without the old characters, except ka-ching! This far, oh my god.
It's my dad told me about the first time that him and his generation ever saw a kiss without their makeup.
Oh yeah.
I was like, wait, these are what they look like? And I feel like that we get the same feeling.
I absolutely agree. Yeah, I just love. It's like you wonder, like, is he like a creature under there or something? It's like, no, it's just Adam Driver.
It's just. Oh yeah, and I'm glad they didn't build it up. Like it's like Darth Vader. That was definitely there with him. But here it's just like, no, he's just a guy.
Yeah. I'm actually glad that we got time with him unmasked, because I think
because then he's more than an action figure.
Yeah, and I think we can probably all agree, Kylo Ren's kind of a ridiculous character, but I think Adam Driver played him really well.
Star Wars, they're all ridiculous.
Yeah,
he's a little ridiculous as a villain because of just glorifying the Empire, but. Again, I'm calling back to the Darth Vader comic. One of the people he picks up as his entourage is Dr. Aphra, who's an archaeologist, and she finds old droid parts and rebuilds them.
Mm-hmm.
And she explains why she likes Vader and why she's working for him. And it's just like she saw the chaos of the war, and she believed in the order that the Empire provided. It's that it's like, you can have your ideals of peaceful cohabitation, but that's not going to get you anywhere. I saved my family by picking up a gun and shooting their oppressors, and we need the Empire to bring that kind of order to the galaxy. So, you kind of get that same sense with Kylo Ren, but at this point it feels more like he's just fetishizing Darth Vader.
Sure, yeah.
He's just super into that.
I see what you mean, though. I mean, a great theme of Star Wars in the films and the expanded universe is the seductiveness of power, and indeed, kind of this oppressive order. And I think the films do a pretty good job of confronting the evilness of these characters while making you understand why they are the way they are. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they didn't just spring out of the ground evil.
Yeah, I mean, Kylo Ren is a familiar type. I mean, he's a fanatic, you know, worshiping this horrible past. You know, I guess you could say he wants to make the galaxy great again. Read into that what you will.
I think he's going to be a much different character in the next film.
I hope so. He's just kind of a butt throughout this movie.
Yeah, because he's supposedly, I mean, killing his father was the next stage to his next phase in his training, and then he's going to smoke more. So I'm feeling he's going to be more sinister in the next movie.
I think you're right. I think he'll come back much more powerful.
He's got phase 2 of his training going on.
Yeah, and he's going to have something to prove because Rey kicked his ass. So you know, man, she'll kick his ass again though. He is because he's an imposter of sorts, and she's the real deal. Bring her to me. It's really kind of unbelievable. That's Andy Serkis's voice.
Oh, there's James Bond.
Yes, yeah.
Stormtrooper JB007.
You see, there's a rumor now that Tom Hardy's a stormtrooper in Episode 8.
Everyone gets to be a stormtrooper.
Yeah.
Because who wouldn't?
Yeah, who wouldn't
Honestly,
be a
who would?
stormtrooper? She did the Force persuasion well. This was a good bit, I thought.
Yeah.
I wonder if she's always knew that she could do that even on Jakku.
That's the big question, really, isn't it?
Because why didn't she use that power to get her way with, like, Simon Pegg in the fat suit and get more Instabread?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. Maybe she didn't realize it until
I think
she
like
picked up
just
the lightsaber.
touching the lightsaber was her trigger, her reawakening.
That's a good point.
Are you saying
Yes,
the
the
Force
Awakens.
Awakens? By the way,
do it.
By the way, there's a long-standing tradition of Star Wars titles that, you know, are kind of not exactly on the nose. You know, The Force Awakens. Well, the Force doesn't awaken. The Force awakens within Rey. Return of the Jedi. Well, the Jedi don't return, but Anakin Skywalker reemerges. And
I just assumed it was just. Oh, here we are.
Oh yeah.
Nope, not doing this today. Yeah, Return of the Jedi to me was just a Jedi came back. The Jedi is singular. It's just Luke. He came back to do, you know, Jedi stuff.
That's true. Yeah, that's a good point. And then there's the Phantom Menace, which that may refer to Darth Sidious, or it may, or I think it probably more likely refers to Jar Jar Binks. But that may just
Well, he's not a phantom. He's right there. Hey, it's TV's Greg Grunberg.
I kind of liked how they got Greg Grunberg in here.
So this was the Death Star.
They really like meeting around circular tables.
And
They
this is
do.
the Death Star.
Even in the prequels, they had circular tables.
The Admiral.
And Murloc Bar. The guy who did his voice just died.
Yeah.
Sad.
Everybody died. And there's Nien Nub.
Yeah.
Whatever his name is.
I once went to that Star Wars in concert thing when it came to the Moda Center, and Anthony Daniels hosted it, which is it was pretty fun, and I'll never forget the end of the concert. We all kept clapping, and he kept like leaving the stage and coming back, and this happened at least 3 times, and I'll never forget the look on his face. He looked kind of like perplexed yet moved at the same time,
Yeah.
and it was nice. Like, man, we made an impression on C-3PO. That's kind of a good feeling.
Is C-3PO anybody's favorite character?
I love C-3PO.
Like, I'm sure there's a linguist somewhere who's like a super big fan of his, but like,
He's not my favorite character, but I love him.
yeah.
My favorite character is actually Luke, which is funny since he's so whiny. But I've always liked how Luke transforms. You know, as he starts out as this whiny kid, and he's a whinier kid, and then he's kind of humbled by realizing his father is Darth Vader, and he becomes this kind of ethereal monk-like figure. And I've always found that journey really powerful. And I love how he goes from staring up at the suns of Tatooine, longing for adventure, to being alone in the forest, burning his father's body, and it's like he's had adventure, and it's it's not that great, a lot of emotional scars. And that's one of the many great things about Star Wars, that it's simple and yet it's not.
Did he burn his father, or was he watching a Darth Vader Yule log on Netflix?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's the thing that exists.
Oh, I'm sure he watched the Darth Vader Yule. I've actually never seen that. I'll have to check that out.
I wonder if he would be like offended if he knew that existed in our world. Just like, oh yeah, we watch your dead dad burn on Christmas just for fun.
He might. It's hard to know. He might be offended, but he might understand, given the whole, mass murder.
See, when I was a kid, I remember seeing like the Ewoks would drum on stormtrooper helmets.
Yes.
And I'm like, why wasn't Darth Vader's helmets being drummed on? He's a bad guy too. What makes him so special?
Oh yeah, what indeed.
Oh yeah, this part.
Coming out of light speed and onto the atmosphere.
I remember I read something online where they theorized that Han Solo was actually Force sensitive, and that if he found out, he would be like super pissed off about it, because he likes to think of himself as the greatest pilot in the galaxy, and it's like, nope, it's the Force.
That would be funny. That would test him. I just want to say, I think it's really original. I really liked how, for something different, they decided to do an ice planet.
Yeah, we've never seen an ice planet in Star Wars before.
Yeah, it was nice to shake things up.
It's interesting how in Star Wars every planet is just one thing. Like, we got a desert planet, and a forest planet, a city planet, ice planet.
Someone pointed out,
Granted, we only see like a 1 mile of these areas, but
that's
still.
true, yeah. Someone pointed out in Star Wars Insider, I remember that, if there was like a character in Star Wars and their one line was, I like pie, the expanded universe would make some material about how they came from like a pie planet where all they did was make pie, I mean, Star Wars paints with a very broad brush.
Yeah.
By the way, I love this
is a great
bit.
line.
That's not how the Force works. Sanitation?
There's a guy who's like running in the background of a shot in one of the Star Wars movies, and he's carrying like what's supposed to be like a futuristic space age device. It's clearly like a salad shooter or a toaster or some like household appliance. He has a Wikipedia page about him. So if like you Google like guy in Star Wars carrying a salad shooter or whatever, then you'll probably find him.
I'm
gonna Google that. I'm gonna see what's gonna happen.
Yeah, you should go. Yeah. That's the amazing thing. It's like they come up with a story about everything. Like
he's a minor character. You can tell me that's wrong.
Yeah. Do y'all remember in the Phantom Menace, Aura Zing, the bounty hunter? She's like really pale, bald, except for like one strand of red hair. So in one shot, and she's a huge character in the expanded universe. It's crazy. Although I've read a lot of expanded universe stuff, so I'm immersed in all that craziness. So
Yeah.
You talking about fan fiction?
Well, like the novels and the comics and stuff. I mean, the stuff
Actuals, the release stuff.
Yeah. I know there's some. I mean, the stuff that now is classified as Star Wars Legends. which amuses me. Okay, this is a bit of repetition I like. This sequence really references the Death Star scenes in A New Hope very strongly.
Right.
And one thing they did that I love is in A New Hope, right before Obi-Wan dies, you hear a stormtrooper saying, we think they may be splitting up, and right before Han dies, a stormtrooper says,
him.
we think they may be splitting up, and I love that symmetry. Yes.
On Star Wars Wikipedia, because of course that's what it's called.
Of course. What else could it be called?
His name is Willrow Hood. That's Willrow Hood.
That's a Star Wars name.
Why does he have a backstory? He's carrying around an ice cream maker.
Wait, is this the guy from Cloud City?
I think so. Yeah.
Where
is he?
I actually have heard of him. I forgot about him.
Come on, work with me here, you stupid website. There he is. This guy.
I gotta watch the movie again.
Oh my god. Alright, we were watching a movie. I forgot about that.
Hey, it's all part of the Star Wars experience.
Yes. That's all part of the home viewing experience, is being distracted by some BS and Googling something.
We have General Hux back again.
Hux. He was a character.
He was.
I remember nothing of him. Except apparently he yelled a lot. He was the Grand Moff Tarkin. Does anyone... Does anyone care about Grand Moff Tarkin?
Well,
I mean,
like, Tarkin was just...
I mean, to the extent that I find him amusing and entertaining.
I like Peter Cushing as much as the next guy, but it's like, when you're a kid growing up, you don't care about the plainclothes Imperial officer. Mm-hmm. Like, you're here for Darth Vader, because Darth Vader's the cool one.
Yeah.
He's got a laser sword, and he's a space wizard.
Yeah, Grand Moff Tarkin is no Darth Vader, that's for sure.
You'll see more Tarkin in Rogue One.
I do remember...
Yeah, you will.
That makes sense.
Yeah, you'll see a lot of him.
I do remember, they point... Star Wars fans like to point this out, that it's like, well, Darth Vader blew up Alderaan. He can't be forgiven. It's like, he didn't blow up Alderaan. Grand Moff Tarkin blew up Alderaan.
That's true.
And
that's
then it's
true.
like, but also young Darth Vader killed a bunch of children.
Yeah.
You can't ignore that one. You can't drag your way out of that.
I've always thought that the point isn't like, it's kind of like the question, like, can Darth Vader be forgiven? I don't think he can ever be forgiven. I mean, he did so many terrible things. I mean, that's a huge body count, to say the least.
Oh, yeah.
It's more like a matter of, like, like, can he at the end find the strength to do the right thing before he's gone from this world? And that's what I think it, became about, really. Because I don't think, I mean, how do you come back from, killing a bunch of little kids in Jedi robes,
Yeah.
Even if, they were annoyingly cute little kids. Master Skywalker, what are we going to do?
You're gonna shut up and you're gonna get dead. That's what you're gonna do.
They're going to die so I can save Padme because
those two things are connected. Oh, Natalie Portman. I think a lot of her latter-day career has been trying to get away from those movies.
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't want to be in Thor anymore, clearly. She did, right now she's in Jackie.
Yeah.
And she directed a movie.
Yeah, Tale of Love and Darkness.
Yeah, which we had for a little bit at the theater I
that.
work. Hey, it's Billy Lord.
Oh, I missed her. Oh, I love this creature. That giant hairy creature.
He's
I love
adorable.
him.
He's like a Sasquatch.
That's one of the best new additions to the canon.
So much we're watching this with closed captioning. So much of it is just Chewy growls or BB-8 chirps or something.
Yeah, BB-8, it's a lot of Ray grunts. That's pretty good. Did you guys see Han's scarf? It was pretty funny.
Scarf?
Yeah, he had a scarf for a second there. It's gone now. I took it off. He had a scarf though.
Well, it's cold outside.
Yeah.
He's on Snow Planet.
Now we come to the catwalk. Very reminiscent of the catwalk in The Empire Strikes Back, which is fateful since this is another meeting between father and son.
Yeah. Again, J.J. Abrams is a good mimic.
Yeah, he you know, I think it's kind of funny. His film Super 8. I thought the characters were very. I found the characters kind of boring in that film. They were the only characters he's ever created himself for a movie, but I find. I mean, I think it's incredible. You know, his interpretation of Spock, for example. And I think it's interesting. I almost see J.J. Abrams as like, you know, like in addition to being a mimic, he's almost like a pop culture sponge. Like he soaks up, like, you know, kind of the stuff of yesteryear and then squeezes it out like in this recognizable but Abramsified form.
How the hell does Finn recover from this?
Future medicine.
time.
Long time ago, galaxy far, far away medicine.
Yeah.
Is he gonna have a metal spine, like?
They'll put him in like that. Wasn't Luke in a big water tank?
But back to tank, yes. Oh, I love that scene. Him floating around.
Yeah, I'll give him some Robitussin. He'll be all right.
Well, this brings up an interesting thing. It's going to be a much different vibe in Episode 8 with Finn and Rey separated. Rey's going to be off training. You know, Finn's going to be shacking up with Poe Dameron.
As you do.
Oh, it's the Han Solo star.
Dun, 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 dun.
I hope he's got insurance.
Yeah.
But you can't replace precious memories of blowing up the Senate.
That is true. Oh, there's another George Lucas wipe.
Mm-hmm.
And here we come to the moment that everybody hates on J.J. Abrams for, when Leia does not hug Chewie.
Yeah.
Which, it's, I was trying to think, like, does it really not work? And yeah, I think it really doesn't work. Yeah. He owned up to it. He said, you know, I messed up. Sorry.
Yeah. Maybe in the special edition they'll fix it.
It's going to be a good special edition. Maybe they can add a random scene with Jabba slithering around.
Yeah, he's not dead yet. No, Jabba shows up as a Force ghost.
Jabba is a Force ghost. Now that's a Star Wars movie I want to see.
And they throw in a sound effect for Chewie that goes, no.
Yeah, get the Revenge of the Sith. No. They added that to the Blu-ray of Return of the Jedi, you know.
Yeah, I know.
And now R2's back at just the right moment.
Yeah, he's just been updating the latest copy of Windows this whole time.
Yeah. He had Vista before. I hear Anthony Daniels did not like the red arm.
How different is the costume?
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
I guess that's just a matter of personal taste. Which I get that. I thought he meant like he didn't like wearing the costume. Like how different can that be? Honestly?
Right. I have to admit, I thought the red arm was kind of funny. Like, you know.
Mm.
And the map. This was, I think, one of the cleverer ideas they had in terms of story, having this, you know, map and the missing piece be, you know, and the search for Luke be a big part of the the plot, and in a way, it kind of mirrors the filmmaker's search for trying to recapture the magic of Star Wars, which I'm a big fan of blockbuster movies that are sort of about their own story.
Yeah. The sort of metatextual level.
Metatextual, yeah.
So here's the other thing. They found, like, the quadrant of space or wherever where Luke's hiding, and I guess the specific planet. That's still a lot of ground to cover. Like, you're not going to know exactly where he is.
Mm-hmm.
Planets are pretty big.
She used the Force. no, you're...
That's not how the Force works.
Very true.
No, we're just gonna say using the Force, and that's the thing. Like the criticisms of Rey being a Mary Sue, which but I'm okay with it. Like you remember, like the Phantom Menace got a lot of flack for a lot of stuff, and it well deserved. But Anakin Skywalker blew up a ship when he was 10 years old.
Oh, yeah.
Luke blew up the Death Star with his eyes closed. Using the Force is a hand-wave cure-all for amazing stuff. So, if she can, beat Kylo Ren in a lightsaber fight because of the Force, sure. She can find Luke because of the Force, sure.
I don't like the idea of people, criticizing her for being, too awesome.
Yeah.
I feel like it's it feels it feels unfair,
Yeah.
I mean, Luke, blew up the Death Star by closing his eyes, so
and hearing the ghost of his dead uncle.
Yeah. I mean, and Rey, I don't know. I mean, Daisy Ridley sells every moment of this movie, so
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, I like that she has a new outfit at the end here, in the tradition of Star Wars movies where they get a new outfit at the end,
She's good.
like Luke's new jacket at the end of A New Hope.
Well, she just got off Snow Planet. She's like, at least give me something to wear.
Yeah, it's the least they could do.
It was cold as hell out there.
This is beautiful here, the ocean shots.
We got Ocean Planet now.
Yeah, Ocean Planet. We've actually never seen one. Camino. I forgot about Camino.
That was
the clones.
I guess that counts. I consider that more Rain Planet.
But and that was more like that was a rain planet. Yeah.
Although I want to see Purple Rain Planet. It's the funkiest planet in the system.
So this is Purple Rain. I just got that. that sounds awesome. This is a Skellig Michael Island in Ireland.
Yeah.
This is the meme scene.
Yes. This thing is pretty great. I gotta say.
They should really install an elevator.
So Ryan Johnson says he is going to pick up at the beginning of episode 8 exactly where this scene ends.
Yeah, they started filming on this island. Like they released a video online. That's a wrap on filming episode 8.
I saw that video. I love that video.
And they're back here.
I think I think you could start later, but I'm curious to see how he pulls it off. I think it's
this is a moment that people want to see. Like Rey meets Luke. What happens?
Yeah.
They'll probably time jump after the scene.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they'll probably. Yeah, they'll. Oh.
So where was he living? Is there like a hut he has off screen or something?
He was just standing there the whole time. He just stands.
My legs are so tired. And there's.
We can't hear it now, but there's over the top music.
Dun, 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 dun. Look at the skin's worn off his mechanical hand.
Luke Lebowski.
He does look Lebowskian.
The Force abides, man.
Love the grave look on his face.
Didn't see this coming.
Yeah, I see that look in terms of I don't want to go back out there, but I know I have no choice. That look on Luke's face, and there it is. That's the look I was thinking of. It's like Luke's married, but he knows he's got to go. He's got to rejoin the fray. And spin.
And.
Dun, 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 Da 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 da. Ya da da da.
They're about to do the credits listing.
Credits.
Or the actors.
Actors.
Where we got it?
This is by John Williams.
Costume design.
Michael Kaplan was one of 2 costume designers on Blade Runner.
Huh.
So he and Harrison Ford go way back.
Right on.
Is he doing the new one too?
Oh yeah.
I think he is doing the new one. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So John Williams, of course, is doing the music again. I think Michael Kaplan's coming back. Bob Duke says that again.
Harrison Ford.
Mark Hamill.
Why does he get
second
second billing? He's in there for 5 seconds and he doesn't say anything. Why does Adam Driver get billing above Daisy Ridley?
It's ridiculous. They really ought to, for the next one, give Daisy Ridley and John Boyega and Oscar Isaac top billing. I mean,
Yeah.
they're the new trio. You know, I mean,
They're the characters.
Yeah. It's kind of absurd to bill Mark Hamill and Harrison Ford and Carrie Fisher over them.
Mm-hmm.
And then we just saw Max von Sydow in there, which I read a DK kids book that explains who that character is, and I wish they had explained more in the movie, because that was a bit of a distraction seeing it the first time. Like
Here's
an old
film icon Max von Sydow.
Yeah,
doing
like what
nothing.
the heck is he doing there? But do you guys know the story about that character?
I don't know. I just know he was buddies with Leia, and that's it.
So his name's Lor Santeca, and in the aftermath of the defeat of the Empire, a lot of like archives and stuff have been destroyed, and Lor Santeca helped the rebellion
Is his
recover
name is
information
Lore?
and stuff. Yeah, his name is
He
Lor.
recovers books, and his name is Lore.
Not on the
A+.
nose at all. And it means he has the same name as Data's evil brother in the Next Generation.
Well, at least that Data and Lore, that's connected. That makes sense. This
Data
is just. What's his name? Brent Spiner posted a picture on Twitter. I love it when franchises come together. It's a picture of him hugging a stormtrooper. Just like
That's
a
pretty
confused
good.
look on his face.
I love Brent Spiner.
He's a fun guy.
He is. Well, obviously this was not a normal viewing experience, given that we had no sound and that we were
talking about
commentating.
completely off-topic stuff the whole time.
But pertinent stuff, interesting stuff.
I googled that guy from Star Wars carrying an ice cream maker.
But I wonder, after this, did anything new that stood out to you guys or struck you, differently before, or did kind of feel the same as...
I was half paying attention the whole time, so there's not a whole lot I can add.
The nature of commentating.
Yeah.
I think they did pay a lot of attention to the cinematography in this. And there were a lot of really powerful shots in this.
I agree,
And
yeah.
it came out even more without the sound, I noticed.
Yeah, well, that's kind of a fun thing. It's, not having the sound and the laser bursts, it's, you see, how beautiful some of these
Yeah,
images
you're not
are.
distracted by the sound.
Yeah.
And I kind of felt like I was watching somebody else watch it on the plane.
Yeah, I know it is like that. Yeah, when you don't have the headphones and you're looking up at someone else's screen, it totally has that vibe. Yes. Yeah, this one of the things about the prequels is there was such an airless, antiseptic feel. Everything was so fake, and then in this it's the Maz Kanata planet, whatever it's called, it's there's actually air and trees and sky, it's
I've never seen so much green in the universe.
yes. Yeah.
I said this already, but again, that was the flaw of the prequels, is it was too much focus on the Jedi.
Yeah.
And I love the Jedi. I love laser swords and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But come on, all the dialogue is just so stiff and awkward.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is, you look at the original trilogy. That's the perfect combination of characters. You want the kind of doe-eyed believer like Luke, believing in this spiritualism, and you want to see that, clash with, like Han, who's this world-weary, dashing,
The jaded
skeptic.
cynic.
Yeah, yeah, and who also, unlike Luke, is suave and cool and kind of a ladies' man. I mean, like, you need Han, or you need a Han type to kind of keep it from getting too stuffy, and that's one.
I think maybe that was their attempt with Jar Jar Binks, was to be like the counterpoint to the Jedi is this guy.
And what a counterpoint they chose. This is why the Force Awakens is setting things up well, and setting things to even get better over time. Is you've got a lot of characters with spunk. I mean Rey, Finn, Poe Dameron, they actually have life. They're not going to be like Liam Neeson in The Phantom Menace,
Yeah.
wandering around saying, "We're running out of time. I don't know."
Anything else to say as these credits roll?
Thing you want to see the most in Episode 8?
More of Snoke, more of Phasma, and just a scene of of Leia tracking down Kylo Ren and just giving him a whooping.
I like that. I like that. He's earned it.
He's earned it. He's gotta get a spanking and go to his room without dinner.
I want to see less of a nostalgia trip and more complexity in the characters.
I
too.
I have to agree. Yeah, yeah. I would like to see I would like to see a film like The Empire Strikes Back, not in terms of plot, in terms of mimicking the plot, but I would like to see. I mean, the way that Empire Strikes Back deepened the mythology and challenged what you thought you knew. I would like to see a film that does that for this trilogy, and seriously, one way to do that would be to have a romance between Finn and Poe. I mean, I don't think Disney has the balls to do that.
Well, they might. Disney's more progressive. There's a willingness to push the envelope. I mean, they didn't have to. With this movie, they didn't have to put a white woman, a black man, and a Latino man front and center.
That's true.
And say,
yeah.
this is the next generation.
Yeah.
But maybe. I mean, Disney, from what I understand, Disney's attitude towards its properties is it's more just like, if it's not broken, don't fix it,
Sure.
Like, when they got Marvel didn't really change a whole lot.
No.
It's just that they got a new production, or new distributor. It wasn't Paramount anymore.
Right,
and
right.
they got different marketing and stuff. So I think it's in Lucasfilm's hands, and it's.
I think so, yeah.
And I think they'll go for it. They're pretty progressive and they're pretty sharp.
What? Kind of going back to the idea of nostalgia trip, I think
maybe not necessarily. Sorry, just maybe not necessarily with Poe and Finn specifically, but I think there's definitely some gay characters at some points coming along.
Yeah,
in
I
these
think
movies.
probably. Yeah, well, it's happening in Star Trek, so
Well,
it was in Star Trek Discovery.
Well, Star Trek you kind of have to, because that is the next frontier.
Right.
And also how much George Takei and his activism for gay rights has been a part of the series, and it's that Brian Fuller isn't on there anymore, but he was, and he's gay, and he brings that to some of the stuff he writes. I say, having only watched Hannibal, but yeah.
Well, I just want to quickly go back to the idea of the nostalgia trip versus venturing more into the unknown, and then as I said, I think in my initial issues with this movie, I overlooked its strong points, but one thing that hasn't changed is I still feel like this is a bit like Star Wars Mad Libs, and they're kind of they're kind of hitting all these beats very carefully, and I think this is kind of the problem with taking on this phenomenon, and and instead of the creator doing it, you're trying to kind of capture the creator's magic, and they did that by imitating the aesthetic very meticulously, by imitating the narrative of the original films very meticulously, and I think to really capture the magic and truly bring it back, they're gonna have to take some risks, and I think with Rian Johnson directing, he's an inventive guy, and I don't know, maybe he'll prove to be just a gun for hire, but I think there's very strong reasons to believe that won't be the case, and that he'll be the right filmmaker to take those risks.
Well, and I suppose in JJ's defense, I have a feeling that this whole nostalgia strategy was always an executive decision from the start.
That's a fair point. Yeah.
The heads of Disney, whatever the board, and Lucasfilm decided that they want to revive the franchise away from the prequels.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Because you got to remind people that good Star Wars movies still exist.
Right.
And continuing to exist. It's not all midichlorians and I don't like sand.
We could do a whole video probably about or podcast about the problem with midichlorians, because they are many.
And the way The Force Awakens works, I think JJ was probably the right choice as a director.
Yeah.
Because he's a very good mimic.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, no, without getting into spoilers about Rogue One, I
know I haven't seen it yet. I know as much that it looks different as a Star Wars movie.
It does look a bit different. Yeah, it's one thing is I haven't seen other Gareth Edwards films, but he came off to me as more of a gun for hire, and the thing about J.J. Abrams is he is very perversely he's a mimic, and he's a true auteur. There are stylistic things across all 5 of the films he's done, and also he's part of his style as an auteur is his kind of zealous belief in pop culture, and kind of these sagas, these modern mythologies, and I've been bragging on the copying of stuff in this film, but I think J.J. Abrams is very sincere, and he really believes, and where there's belief, there's a lot of life, and that's a powerful thing in movies. Well, do you guys have any final thoughts before we sign off?
Live long and prosper.
And may the Vulcans be with you.
It'll be a long while before I see this movie again. I've seen it. It's probably my 4th or 5th time.
I've seen it a lot too. Yeah.
I should probably watch it again at some point, but not this week because I got a lot of work. Oh smoke! Holy smokes! I got a lot of work.
All right. Well, for those of you who tuned in, thanks for listening. Thanks for joining us on this journey. It was fun for me. It's not the final frontier, but it's a new frontier.
Good times. Star Wars weekend.
Yeah. All right. Well, if you like this podcast, please click the thumbs up or subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to follow us at T.H.O. Movie Reviews, and like us on Facebook, and check out all our reviews at thomoviereviews.wordpress.com. And once again, I'm Bennett Campbell Ferguson, here with Mo Shaunette and Patrick Belin, and happy movie watching, and go see Rogue One if you're so inclined.
Ciao.